Hello, everyone. This is Yuri Karasawa, or you may know me as Yakyu Cosmopolitan. Very exciting episode lined up today as we are talking about the MPB stars being posted to MLB this winter. But before we begin, I do want to plug extrainningstravel.com, the official tour provider of Japan Ball. I help out as a guide and interpreter on almost all the Japan tours, including the new Little League play abroad trips, which are super fun for the whole family and a great opportunity for cultural exchange over the summer. So if you're interested in coming to Japan and watching some MPB, bookings are already open for 2026. Also, subscribe to my newsletter on japanball.com for weekly MPB news and updates, including during the off season. Now, I am joined again today by Brandon Tu. Brandon is an operations analyst at Sports Info Solutions. I think there are very few people in the English speaking community who are as qualified to talk about MPB players because, I watch a ton of MPB myself and I do my own analysis, but Brandon definitely has me beat when it comes to hitting that film room and digging into every little detail there is to find from like a scouting perspective. So, yeah, how's it going, Brandon? And what are you most excited to discuss today?
Yeah, I think I'm excited to discuss the variance in the players that are coming over. I don't know if we have a Yamamoto. We definitely don't have like a Roki in terms of like the pure upside and even somewhat of the volatility.
Yeah.
But there are very good players coming over from Japan, and we're kind of talk about some of the negatives, but also some of the positives of some of these guys and how much like skill is coming over in terms of arguably have a top four pitcher in Imai coming over, and we clearly have one of the best power hitters in Murakami, and then one of the best all around hitters in Okamoto, and then Kona's he's had flashes where he's been really really good, but the idea is that like more and more guys are wanting to come over to MLB and prove themselves, and I think that's fascinating from like a who's next in terms of coming over, and this batch of guys is very talented in some aspects.
Yeah, this is a really fun group. And with all due respect to the batch that went over last year, Roki Sasaki was obviously really exciting, but he didn't have the potential to get a giant contract because he was, international amateur. And then the others like Sugano, Ogasawara, Aoyagi. It's just like the
Yeah.
upside is not there as you have with this group. So yeah, let's jump right in. We have the four players going to MLB via the posting system. That's Munetaka Murakami, Kazuma Okamoto, Tatsuya Imai, and Kona Takahashi. These are the guys we're going to spend the most time on, but then at the end, we'll touch on some foreigners who are eyeing a return to North America. But let's begin with the pitchers. Imai and Kona Takahashi, we can kind of group them because they are teammates on the Saitama Seibu Lions. They are both right-handed pitchers. They both have long hair. A lot of similarities here. But Imai is the one that you really want to um, keep your eye on because Imai, according to some analysis I've seen just in recent weeks from Lance Brozdowski, Saris, a lot of people are starting to like Imai like the
Yeah.
most out of this entire free agent class, which I think is a slight change of tone that we've seen. Because I do think Imai is such a unusual pitcher. He's a little unorthodox, so you don't have that like immediate like he's not, you don't look at him and think he's going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but I think he's the same tier as, say, Kodai Senga. He's almost like Kodai Senga with more durability because Senga's always had these like injury concerns. Imai, with the exception of some stuff earlier in his career, has proven that he can, stay healthy. Innings are still a question in terms of like, I don't, he's not like a 200 inning guy, but can he pitch out of the rotation all year in MLB in year one and give you uh, 28 starts? I think absolutely yes. But yeah, let's start with Imai. What do you think of Imai in terms of what he's done in MPB and what will he do in MLB?
Yeah, like a lot of other people, the more I watch them, the more I'm like, I don't know. I think this might be like very high upside in
Hmm.
terms of I don't he's not a finished product, but I see like the number two upside in there. I see what people are talking about with he might be the best free agent pitcher, but I think that's kind of crazy to talk about when Framber Valdez is in the class. You know, guys like Dylan Cease are in the free agent class, and what he does, like you said, is it's unique. I, he has this runner fastball that is almost a two-plane shape. He throws it like he has command, and that's one thing that we can talk about is the command like progress. He's definitely controlled the zone more and started to throw more strikes. And then he has just this unusual pitch where I know it's not really a gyro ball because a gyro ball is like a pure like gyro spin, not it's just dropping straight down, but it's the closest thing to like a gyro ball you can get with like this reverse slider that he's almost throwing. And we've talked about that pitch in the past and how he could almost throw it more and more and get more outs. And you can see on like pitch plots and even just like watching him, like there's some occasions where like if he comes over to MLB, is he going to start throwing that pitch more to like left-handed hitters and start like running the ball away from left-handers because he has this unique ability to like get behind the baseball and
Yeah.
like almost like pronate through it while throwing a slider. So yeah, I'm fascinated by him in terms of like what to expect from him. I think I wrote in something that got published in Prospects Live a couple like about 2 days ago. I think I wrote like he's definitely a four. He's probably around a three, but there's upside there, and I think that's why he's gonna get the money that's warranted in this free agent class. For you, like, what's the biggest thing about him? Because I think it's like the sudden control aspect. I I don't even know if it's like straight up command, but the control aspect of like being able to throw strikes. Because this is a guy who like could not throw strikes, say 2 seasons ago, and then all of a sudden he started throwing strikes. So I think that's like the most fascinating part about him is if that command holds and he's like a 50 command guy, then we're talking about 2 to 3 type of upside. We're talking about like a guy who's actually gonna be very, very good in MLB. So I guess we can start there is just like how much better he's gotten at throwing strikes, basically.
Yeah, I think with most Japanese pitchers coming over, you can look at their MPB career, right? You can look at the resume. With Imai, I almost think it's not fair to look beyond like say 2 years ago
A year
because
and a
he's
half, yeah.
he's such a different pitcher today than he was earlier in his career. Now he's always had stuff. I remember back in 2021, he was like one of my breakout picks, but then
Mm.
he was like really bad because he's
Yeah,
again could not find the strike
it's just
zone.
the walks were
Um,
yeah very high.
and I've been doing like pitcher rankings for the past couple of years. And I think this kind of illustrates the steady improvements I've seen from him. So 2024, I had him number 20 on my preseason pitcher ranking,
Okay.
mostly based on just, again, the walk rate was too high. He was running like 15% walk rate. That comes with inherent volatility. And he actually had kind of overperformed a lot of his peripheral numbers. But then he added a tick to his fastball, so he went from like 93, 94 to more like 95, 96. And he was throwing more strikes, certainly early in the season. That kind of tapered off in the second half of 2024. The walk rate kind of climbed back up. But so 2025, the preseason ranking, I had him number 11. And I think that was way too low because he ended up being a top three starter in MPB this past year. So if Imai were still staying in MPB going into 2026 preseason ranking, I'd probably have him number three.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like steadily moved up. The walk rate for his career is 12%. But this year it was 7%. So again, he's just finding
Hmm.
the strike zone more. If you look at just his fastball, for instance, from 2022 to 2024, it was a 53% zone rate, 61% strike rate. This year, 56% zone rate, 69% strike rate. So 3% increase in zone rate, 8% increase in strike rate. These are all great things. And really, I think one of the best things he's done is that he's completely leaned into this fastball slider thing to righties, right? So he
Yeah.
pushed that over 90% in 2024, which we've talked about a lot
We've
over the
been
past couple of years.
screaming it from the mountaintops for him just
Yes,
to throw that combo
because
more and more and more.
those are like that's his best pitch in the slider, and it tunnels really well with his fastball, the way this slider shape is like so short and tight, and again that reverse kind of unorthodox arm side movement. And he just has absolutely killed same-handed hitters. The problem has been managing his splits. He has not
Hmm.
been that good against lefties. 2024, it was a 102 xFIP minus, so below average against lefties. This year was his best, 93 xFIP minus. This is the only year he's been above average against opposite hand hitting. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, do you think he's going to have a massive splits issue in MLB? Basically, is his other pitches beyond the slider, so basically the changeup, the splitter, you can even throw in that Vulcan that he added late in the year. Are these
Yeah.
pitches going to be able to like is he going to be able to mix and match enough against lefties to survive?
Th- That's my biggest concern about him is the fastball shape playing against lefties, his command of the fastball shape glove side to lefties, and then also what is he going to throw off of that to get outs against lefties. People keep talking about how they like the split, and don't get me wrong, the splitter is good. It's just not as good as people are saying. Like I don't think it's that good. Like I don't think it's like plus to double plus splitter. I think it's like a 55 grade splitter. I think it's very, very good, and his numbers with it have been decently good. My whole thing with him is, and maybe I could be completely wrong about this. I could be like almost overthinking it and big braining it, but to me, he wouldn't be throwing a changeup and a Vulcan and doing all this other
Yeah,
stuff if his splitter was that good.
yeah,
Um, I think he's gonna have to find a way to get to a consistent like shape on that splitter, and that seems like an oxymoron because sometimes splitters don't always like feel like they have consistent shape. But just the idea of even commanding that pitch and just making sure it's in the right spots, he's gonna have to find a way to get to that feel with that pitch. And then I think if he gets like a very consistent splitter and that splitter starts to play against lefties at a very high level, and he isn't just using it as like a pure chase pitch late in counts, then I can start to buy into there's number two, number three upside. Like there's definite number two upside if he can get lefties out. Um Not that he like hasn't been able to show it in the past and like he doesn't have flashes of being able to throw the fastball glove side and stuff like that, but if you look at his like numbers, he doesn't zone anything and it's a lot of chase. And in MPB, like there is a lot of chase. There's almost too much, and he's even talked about it in like quotes like guys are so like afraid of my fastball that they're like fouling pitches off and trying to run my pitch count up. And it's like, what can he do to get to a point where he can start to use that splitter or maybe even use another pitch against lefties at a high level where it's like I'm not as worried about the splits issue, because that's my biggest concern with him is I think he could struggle this first like 5 or 4 months of the MLB season, even like the first three, if the splits issue is like a real thing. And I'll emphasize this again. If he can't like command the fastball glove side against lefties, like almost put the ball underneath guys' hands, then is he gonna basically be a pitcher that just has to pitch away from lefties and hope that the splitter like tumbles off of the fastball? Like that's my biggest concern with him. But it's a super low slot, and maybe if he gets the fastball locations up even, like and he leans into that vertical approach angle. And I know Lance, I think, mentioned this that someone told him like his height adjusted vertical approach angle would be in like the 98th percentile, like it's Hava. So if he can lean into that and then start like targeting up with the fastball, then we're talking about okay, maybe he can do enough with the fastball to like curb this lefty problem that he's had in the past. Yeah, I'm very interested in like what he's going to do from like a mix standpoint
yeah.
with lefties because I think he's just going to continue to go righties. Here's the fastball. Here's the gyro reverse slider. Like here it is. Like hit it. Whereas with lefties, I'm just worried about what he's going to do to get to it. I do think fastballs up could be a solution, but maybe we can talk about this. Does he have the command to get the fastball up
Yeah.
with the shape, with the runner shape?
Yeah, that
That's
that
something that's
that's a
a
concern,
mystery.
right? To your point about getting fastball glove side, like we did see this improve in 2025. So from
Mm,
2022 to 2024, against lefties, he threw 34% glove side fastballs. And then in 2025, it was 42%. So he got that up 8%. And then we also talked about the splitter. He went from throwing the splitter to lefties only 4% of the time when he was behind in the count in 2024 to 9% in 2025. So I think he got a little bit more comfortable with it. But I agree that the fact that he added this, what he calls a sinker, because he got it from his teammate Itogawa, who has like a really nasty again, what in MPB is called a sinker, but in reality is a Vulcan change. He probably doesn't need to like tinker and play around with these other secondaries if the splitter
mm,
was something he actually had a ton of faith in. And the usage rate overall is pretty low for a reason. It's quite a bit behind his slider. And obviously that inherently means that to lefties, he just has to mix more. But yeah, like another problem I think with him is, and this isn't really from a pitching perspective, but he's bad at holding runners. This year he was dead last
yeah.
in MPB in allowing stolen bases. He allowed 20 steals. I think because he's kind of messed with his mechanics a little bit in terms of
Mm,
you've talked about it in a previous episode that he kind of throws like a shortstop now, and I also just don't think he really cared when base runners were on. He was just kind of like, I'm going to focus on pitching. Um, he went so over from 2022 to 2023, he allowed two stolen bases, but over the last 2 years, he's allowed 30 stolen bases on 41 attempts. And I would normally say, like, okay, that's not a big deal. It's not all his fault. Obviously, the catcher has stuff to do with it too, and Seibu's catching situation isn't quite as strong as some other
yeah, it's
teams.
not as
But
strong.
there were so the Hiroshima start in like mid-June stands out to me. He allowed like three steals in like back-to-back innings, and Sandro Fabian, who was like one of the slowest runners in the league, also like stole off him, just got like a big jump. He just wasn't holding guys. And I think in MLB, which has a much stronger running game component now with the new rules than MPB, that could be a problem as well. If he lets guys on base with via the walk, which he's very susceptible to, I do think he's going to have to, you know, um, pitch around certain lefties that he can't really get to. They're going to be able to get on base against him, and then they might just, get into scoring position super quickly, and that might run up his ERA. So, I do want to ask you, let's compare Imai to some other top guys in MLB right now that might be in his range, right? So I'm going to give you a
Mm,
name, and then just tell me would you take Imai over him short term and long term? Obviously, age is a component to that. So let's just start
yeah,
easy. Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga has the injury problems. Do you take Imai in 2026 over Kodai Senga?
I think Koda actually might be a good buy low candidate for team trading for him, but I would take Imai over Kodai just from the standpoint of I don't even know if Sanga's 100% healthy, if we're being
Yeah,
honest. So
that's the concern
yeah.
with Senga, right? And I do think, as I mentioned earlier, Senga not completely different pitchers, but just from like a tier, like MPB tier perspective, like what
Yeah.
tier of talent are they? I think Senga's the closest.
Yeah, they're pretty close, I would say. Yeah, pretty
And
close.
even from the angle of Senga has that ghost fork, which is kind of this anomaly pitch, and then for Imai,
Mm.
it's this backward slider. It's like they
Like
both
how
have
much
this
can
kind
you
of
ride this unique pitch and it won't get it? Yeah.
exactly. And Senga's also had this issue with the other secondaries. Kind of has to lean more into the cutter than he's probably comfortable
And
with.
also command issues as well. Like Senga had a lot of
Exactly.
command issues as well. So yeah.
Exactly. How about Imai or a guy that I think Lance made the comp to? So Luis Castillo. A lot of people
Ooh.
would say Luis Castillo is maybe his best comp in terms of the angle in which he throws at and then some of the pitches. So what would you say between Imai and Castillo?
Yeah, I think Castillo's a pretty good comp for him in terms of just like slot, the shapes. even Castillo used to throw like that weird reverse slider
Yeah.
gyro ball type thing. So I think in terms of next year, I'd probably go Imai, but there's like almost like a that's a pretty close like 50 percentile outcome for Imai, I would say. Like if he can be Luis Castillo, maybe a little bit better, next year, that would
Yeah.
be a perfect situation for him.
Yeah, what I would say on that is I think Castillo, like even as he's been regressing little by little, he's been so consistent. Whereas Imai, I
Hmm.
think, has enormous volatility. I do. I mean, as much as I
Yeah,
like him, I think
that's
his
fair.
floor is quite low. Um,
Would
Imai
you say like
does,
4 or 5 floor? Like that's
yeah,
what we're getting at? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. And I guess even more so than like just raw like run prevention, I think Imai has the risk of like just completely losing command and not being like viable, like not
Yeah,
like having weeks where he can't even throw out of the rotation and needing kind of like
right.
phantom IL or like, you know, like what Senga did, like the minor league like assignment. There is like
Yeah,
a slight risk of that.
that's a real possibility. His actual floor, like if the command truly backs up, is you're out of the bullpen, man. Like you're throwing,
Yeah.
but like I almost think those have to be combos he's having with teams. Like how much of a leash are you gonna give me to start? Like if it doesn't start going well, are you gonna throw me instantly in the bullpen?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he wants to do that. Like I don't think he wants to be thrown in the bullpen. I think he knows he's good, and I don't think he's gonna lack confidence if he's all of a sudden like not good in the first 2 or 3 months of the season in MLB. I think he's gonna figure it out because he's that good of an athlete and that good of a pitcher. But is a team going to be worried at like, are we going to have to throw this guy in the bullpen if we give him $150 million? So that's a real concern I have in terms of like the command backing up. Again, that's my biggest issue with him is just the command and getting
Yeah.
lefties out.
Yeah. And on the flip side, I do think he has a higher ceiling than Castillo, certainly at this point in his career.
Yeah,
I think Imai does, if he hits the ground running, he could be like a better version of Senga was in his rookie MLB
that would
season,
be a very
like
good outcome. Yeah, I
yeah,
think we've talked about that.
with the innings, like I said, maybe like if I don't really see him as a guy working super deep into games in MLB, even though he was doing that in MPB. But if he's like giving you 5, 6 innings, pretty consistently, and it comes with that run prevention, the pitch count with the walks, with the, his overall like ball rate is still relatively high. Again, it's control over command. I do think he's gonna be probably coming out of games a little bit earlier than some people think, but that's fine as long as you're keeping runs off the board. How about Imai compared to another sort of unique guy, Treya Savage, who obviously was
Ooh.
super great in the World Series, but a lot of people are still like not completely sold on you, Savage.
Yeah, so your Savage is interesting because people will put like top 100 lists out and you just get like the backlash of like, how could this guy be this low? But you got to look at your Savage as like a whole. I, I still have real concerns about how your Savage is going to handle MLB in like the long run. But if we're talking about next season, give me your Savage when we're talking about both of them together long term, I actually think that's a pretty fair comp. And I think if both of them reach like their 75th percentile outcome, we're talking about number two pitchers that are pushing like I could be the best pitcher on a staff type of stuff. So I do think there's like an outcome for both of those guys where it's like they just do something so unique from like an arm angle standpoint and just how it looks to the batter that maybe the command doesn't matter. Maybe the shapes don't matter. Like it's so weird and the reverse slider
Yep.
works that it doesn't matter. And your Savage I will say that splitter from that arm angle, I've talked about it before. The fact that he's like over the top like that and just driving the ball down, it's part of the reason why I'm still like kind of in on Hurston Waldrop as well. Like
Yeah.
I think that type of arm angle with that pitch is gonna play. So yeah, I'm excited about that's a really good comp. Like I think long term those both could be they could be very similar in terms of long term comps.
Yeah, and Imai is only 27, so that's another thing, right? Like Imanaga, Senga, they went over at 30
Oh, he's
ish.
young.
Yeah, Imai has a few years on them. Funny connection I'll just mention with Yasavage and Imai. 2023 Collegiate All-Star Series in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Seiya Watanabe homers off Trey Savage. Seiya Watanabe was the teammate of Imai on the Save the Lions in 2025. So it all comes full circle. Now, how about Imai against the other free agent guys that we just said? How does he rank compared to, say, Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, this group?
Yeah, I'm gonna go right there with Cease in terms of production. Maybe not this year, but long-term value. I
Yeah,
think him and Cease are very similar. I, I gotta be honest, I might be the biggest Framber Valdez guy on the planet. So when people were like, Avai's better than Valdez, I was like, whoa. I mean, I know there's stuff that people don't like about Framber, but Framber is the most consistent pitcher, one of the most consistent pitchers in MLB. That the curveball is crazy. The sinker gets so many ground balls. Yes, he's relying on defense, but like if you get that many ground balls, there's a certain floor at which you can like pitch at. And then I think Nick Pollock has talked about this. Like if the curve is on for Fromber, he's very, very good. So I would say Fromber's above Cease and Amai. I would actually be a little bit lower on Ranger. I'm not as sold on Ranger
yeah,
as other people are, but I think Amai's in like the 2-3 category for like free agent pitchers right now in terms of just like overall value of the lifespan of a contract, basically, is what I would think of. But in
yeah.
terms of next season in MLB, again, he could be a four. So I really don't think people need to freak out if he's like not as good the first like 3 or 4 months this season. Like I want to preface that by saying like there's a real chance he's like not that good at the very start of his MLB career. And we haven't even touched on this, Yuri, but like the new ball,
Yep.
ABS zone, like how much is the ABS zone gonna affect him? Like he's gonna actually have to zone pitches and throw strikes. There's just real challenges in coming over. So
Yeah.
yes, he's talented. He's a very talented pitcher, but I would temper expectations for being like he could be awesome and like hit the ground running and just like take the league by storm. I would not throw cold water on it, but there's a real possibility he's not that.
Yeah, I think he's also basically in that like cease range in terms of the upside at least. And I agree
Yeah.
with Framber. Like the MPB version of Framber to me is like Katsuki Azuma for the Bay Stars of just
Yeah.
like maybe does swinging strike rate and stuff like this maybe doesn't jump off the page
The
compared to other
quality
guys,
start
but quality
aspect of
starts, consistency, um, locations, it's obviously very good. Imai doesn't have that kind of floor as Valdez is going to give you. Um, and to your point about like ABS and things like this, I think Imai needs a good catcher. He needs a guy who can frame, is going to really help him out. So, I don't know. I don't usually like to talk about like potential landing spots, but things like, places like Seattle, San Francisco, if it's, I think these places are going to help.
Toronto, the
Yes, with
Giants.
Kirk. Yep.
Yep, the Giants with Patrick. I mean, Patrick Bailey is the best catcher in baseball. So wouldn't be a bad landing spot if he was into on the Giants. Um, I, since we're talking teams, I'll throw out the Padres too. It's very obvious that you want him to come to San Diego, so we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, there's a lot of potential landing spots for him, and like we didn't mention, like the Yankees are heavily
Yeah.
interested in him and stuff like that. So there's a lot of landing spots, and I think that's the fun aspect of his market is there's a ton of landing spots. But I just want to caution, like, if the command backs up and he's a 10% walk guy again, like, okay, like let him figure it out. Like he's too good of an athlete, he's too good of a mover on the mound, like in terms of figuring out how to throw strikes. I buy into like long term he's probably gonna throw strikes, but it might take like a minute to get adjusted to the league and also just realize, man, I have to like actually throw my fastball like Joe Ryan as much as like I have to like literally get my fastball up like Joe Ryan in order to succeed. So that was a really cool comp that threw out, by the way.
Yeah.
I think the Joe Ryan comp is like the the very high upside like this is why you're paying him the type of money is you're getting Joe Ryan. So I understand why people are bought into him from that
Yeah.
aspect.
And yeah, with Imai, like I don't have concern that he's not gonna be able to like get strikeouts in MLB, right? Like if we're not gonna talk about him this episode, but if Hiroto Saiki had been posted, I
Mm.
have genuine concerns like is this guy even going to translate in terms of
Is it
swing and
gonna
miss
work?
ability, in
Yeah.
terms of um I mean really anything. Like he was much more of a wild card. Imai, it really just comes down to what's that walk rate going to be? What's that zone rate going to be? As long as he's managing that, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be quite good. And he's shown a lot of personal growth in such a quick period of time. He's shown, I think he wants to forge his own
Yeah.
path, and he thinks about the game at a very deep level, much like Kai Mataira, his teammate. So I think he is going to be thinking about what we just talked about in terms of like the environment around him, his catcher. Sugano mentioned that like Adley Rutschman being in Baltimore was a big reason that he chose there as well. So
What is a team gonna come to him and be like, this is what I would do with your mix? Like, what plan do you have for Tatsuya Imai? I think that's a big thing for him. And is gonna drive his market. There are gonna be a lot of teams in on him, and I think he's going to get the money he deserves.
yeah,
But the reason he's gonna get that money is because the fastball with the angle which he throws from, there's real like Joe Ryan, Luis Castillo type vibes there. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm
and
I'm in on him.
I will say like I think a lot of places like New York are totally viable because unlike someone we'll get into later with like Munetaka Murakami, who I don't think benefits from like almost having this like too much spotlight. I think Imai's a dog. I think Imai
Yeah,
likes the spotlight. I think Imai wants to become the best. So many possibilities for Tatsuya Imai.
I'll mention real quick because I have the numbers. Two strikes against righties, 49% fastball, 46% slider.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna work in MLB. I'm with you. I think we should throw it a lot more against lefties. 51% four seam and 30% slider. So again, he threw a lot of fastball and slider against guys with two strikes, and that's because he trusts those two pitches. Can he get to a third offering? Can he get the split, the changeup, something to work well? We didn't even mention this, but he threw his changeup like a lot.
Yeah.
Like like
A lot
yeah,
of ground balls
so
on that.
yeah, and a lot of ground balls on it too. So maybe that's the move is just you get a bunch of ground balls on a changeup, and that's how you like curb lefty success. So yeah, I'm very fascinated by him, but I have been telling people, bring down the expectations. Like if he's not Joe Ryan, like out of the gate, or he's not Luis Castillo, like out of the gate, like immediately,
Yeah.
that's not like a bad thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like there's definitely more to tap into long term if that's the case. And yeah, I think even for next year though, he is like certainly top 50 pitcher in MLB caliber from a fantasy perspective, but there is risk there, and that's important to consider. Do you want to get to Kona Takahashi, his teammate?
yeah, let's talk about Kona. I'm glad that I finally got something out in writing because my last report was very much outdated in terms of talking about Kona. So yeah, we can talk about him because I I'm surprised they were both posted at the same time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we'll see what Kona gets in terms of a deal.
Yeah, I think with the impending, lockout next year, maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe they're
But
just doing them a solid. Seibu is
yeah,
like,
because, Seibu with Imai might get like 20, 25, even like 26, 27 million in posting fees. And that's really big for, a slightly smaller market team like them. Kona Takahashi, though, I'm going to be honest, they waited too long on him. They should have posted him 2 years ago when he
oh
was at his
yeah,
peak. His value has really dropped in the past few years. Um, but I will say, the work ethic with him is definitely there. And I know people aren't gonna like that's already like if the first thing I mentioned with him is like
that's an
not
eye
the
roll.
on-field stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, people aren't gonna like that. But dude went to Driveline in 2023, really tried to work on his game, added a few ticks to his fastball at the time, changed his mix a little bit. He's a guy who's going to be willing to learn. He's not going to, go to an MLB team and just be like, this is who I am. Like, I think he's malleable. He's going to be willing to adjust. He is in that same kind of tier, maybe a little bit better than like Naoyuki Uwasawa, Shinosuke
Hmm.
Ogasawara, Kohei Arihara, these types of guys that obviously did not do well in MLB. I mean, with the case of Ogasawara, he's still over there, so good luck to him next year. But Kona Takahashi from 2022 to 2023, he had a 2.2 ERA, was eating a ton of innings, was doing great. 2024, he goes 0 and 11 with an ERA around 4. Now, granted, that's some
Yeah.
bad luck in there, but he just
Yeah,
wasn't very
very bad
good.
luck, but yes.
And then 2025, yes, the surface level ERA, people are going to look at that and be like, oh, he had a low threes. But in MPB, in dead ball MPB, that is right around league
You gotta
average.
look
That's a
at ERA
98.
plus at that point. Yeah,
It's a
look at
98
ERA
ERA
plus.
plus. So that's not the best. And then the worst part is that the strikeout rate at his peak was around 20%. Now it's all the way down to 14%. So I think you're looking at a minor league deal with Kona,
Hmm.
invite to spring training kind of thing. But do you think there's any upside for Kona to potentially become like, say, a 5 down the line?
So I do think his ceiling is higher than say like Yuasawa or Ogasawara. Even Arihara, like I mean, he might be in the Kohei like, but I mean, there was like real like, oh, Kohei
Yeah.
might actually be good,
He wants to go back to
type
MLB, by the way,
combo.
Kohei Arihara.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
if he ends up coming back over. But I'll say this: I think he can get to a 5. I think there's like dare I say, he can get to a 4. A 4 for him would be like, oh my gosh, he really changed something, and like it started throwing like 97, 96, changed the fastball shape, got a little bit more depth on it. We can talk about that because
Yeah.
while he was chasing like it definitely looks like on video. I don't have the numbers. It looks like on video he was chasing vert and it like backfired on him.
Hmm.
It's like a case of like sometimes vert from a certain slot isn't a good thing. And I just wonder if he can like maybe get back to like this shape that is just not as common to see. Like that's what everyone is trying to get away from. They're trying to get away from like the flat fastball shape, the dead zone.
Yep.
Everyone talks about it. But if you're gonna throw from the dead zone, then you better have like a low arm slot, or you better have a elite command like Paul Skeens and throw 100. Like there's genuine concern for me about like how his mix is gonna play. But I will say this, like there's flashes of it. Like you said, if he was posted 2 years ago, we'd be talking about, oh my gosh, he's like a 4. Like he's gonna be really, really good. Type of thing. And I there was a stretch during the summer of 2023 where he was like on a heater, like throwing on the 125th pitch of an outing, 98 miles an hour, 97 miles an hour. Like there's definitely talent there in terms of like he's done it before. I'm just very much concerned about the flat fastball shape now and then really the rest of his mix. Like I know you made the argument to me, like it's possible that the rest of his mix is not as good as like say an Ogasawara or a Uwasawa. Um, he gets to a lot of different shapes and he has a very deep mix and that's important. He throws like this hard slider shape and then like kind of the slower version off of that and it's almost like I guess it all gets tracked as like one slider basically. But the idea is he's throwing like a hard version and a slower version. He has like the cutter he uses to righties. He can also throw it to lefties, but he kind of uses it like just like a hard slider. And then he does have the split, which I think the split grip is interesting. Like he's splitting like across the seam and he's almost like ripping down on like the back seam and trying to like really get the ball to go down. And he can like cut the pitch sometimes, because of that type of like arm action through the ball. So there's things about his like arsenal that I'm like, oh, okay, like I like it. But then I come back to the fact that he just hasn't been good for like 2 years, really. It's been a really long stretch of him not being good in MPB. And I worry about the fastball shape. Like the fastball is flat. So I guess we'll see if he like adds a pitch or if he does something. We didn't even talk about that in Mai, but like a Mai might add like a baby sweeper or
Yeah.
that curveball is gonna turn into like more of a slurve. He's probably gonna do
Sinker.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. with Kona, like he already has a pretty deep mix. So like, what is he
Yeah,
adding to like
that
improve? You know?
that's kind of a downside, I guess, of having this kind of deep arsenal is, I mean, yeah, I do think he has like a feel for spin, but I just don't really see many avenues for him to go.
Mm.
Certainly against lefties.
Especially from that high slot. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine like a sweeper? Like, I can't imagine a
No,
sweeper out
it's
of
not
his
gonna it's
like.
not gonna happen. Or I mean, he has that kind of slurviness to it, but it's not gonna be like a really good one. Against lefties this year, his four-seam fastball, 19% CSW, 6% whiff rate. I mean, that is just like really bad. Slightly better against righties. Like he might be able to, I don't know, like again, it's kind of weird to talk about a guy like Kona who's capable of being like a workhorse in kind of like a mop-up slash relief role. But I mean, he could just be like a matchups guy and give you some kind of value. Much like Imai, I think he's a total dog, like you said, with like throwing his hardest pitch of the night on like the 125th pitch. Like he has that in him. Um, I do think that like slider, both the hard one and the soft variation, they can be good, but when it comes to who he is as a pitcher right now, it's not MLB caliber. He needs to find the right organization that can completely elevate his game. And, you know, I don't have all that much faith in that, but I think because he has that upside potentially of like a five or a four, that's a little bit, if you're giving him like a minor league deal, that's certainly a lot better than, um, some other guys that you know are just like, okay, this guy's just going to be like middle relief, for instance. Like Kona Takahashi genuinely can become a starter in MLB if everything goes right, which is like a small
Mhm.
chance.
Yeah, yeah. It's a small chance, but if I'm a team, he's not like a great low buy candidate, but he's more like a let's see what happens. Like if we know we can like fix some things, especially like the fastball shape, let's say we can get a little bit more like depth on it, a little bit more almost sinker action from the
Yep.
four seam. Um, if we can get like that type of movement where it's more like two plane rather than like flat flat, then I would start to be like, okay, now I like buy an avenue of success. And again, he feels like a guy who really leans into like fastball split with two strikes. He really leans on the fastball like early in counts, like first pitch. He's throwing a lot of fastballs against righties. It's 49% first pitch fastball. Against lefties, it's 43%. That's not gonna fly in MLB, and honestly, that's probably not gonna fly in the minors. He's gonna have to start like backdooring sliders, backdooring curveballs, throwing cutters like down away to start at bats. Maybe the cutter is like the key to if he gets just a tiny bit of cut off a
Yeah.
pitch and like gets guys off the barrel. I was watching a video just watching a game where he threw a cutter and it like you can see like the usage of it. The batter thinks it's like a four seam fastball. It just has that tiny bit of cut. It hits off the end of the bat and just absolutely like explodes the bat because he has that tiny little cutter shape. So there is things there to like make him successful, but it's gonna have to be tapping into something that was there 2 seasons ago. And also, I don't know if anyone's really brought this up, but when I was watching him too, it's like he's very fidgety on the mound. Like he's
Hmm.
very I don't want to say like Kenley Jansen, like coming set type of thing, but he gets dangerously close to like not even coming set. Like he's
Yeah.
fidgeting the entire time, and then it's like, okay, now I go. Um, Maybe there's a way to like calm him down and like see if he can like really, streamline the mechanics
Yeah.
and start throwing 96, 97, like sitting 96, 97. Because it's in there.
Yeah.
I
And that
mean,
is
yeah,
that
we'll
is
just
like an
see.
important like distinction between him and the other group of Uwasawa, Arihara. Like he can top 97, Kona can, and that's like something that a lot of those other guys didn't. So
Yeah.
yes, the shape is bad, but if there's tweaks there, like he has it within his body to actually throw a lot harder than those guys. Um, let's go to the hitters. Let's go to
Yeah.
Munetaka Murakami and Kazuma Okamoto. Let's group them together. Two corner infielders on Tokyo-based teams, two of the best sluggers in MPB over the past 2 years, two very important parts of Samurai Japan's lineup for the WBC, and they're two very good friends. but I think the outlook and expectations on them are a little bit different. And I think I don't know if I've contributed to this negatively, but like the discourse on Murakami on social media has gone like completely off the rails. I think the pendulum has swung way too far in the direction of he's like a guaranteed bust because people were calling him like the next Babe Ruth. So I'm like, hold up, that's
Yeah, there's a
completely
balance here.
unrealistic.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
balance here.
but how about we just from broadly speaking, who do you like more in 2026, Murakami or Okamoto? I think long term, obviously, because the age difference, Murakami is going to be 26, Okamoto is going to be 30. It should be the value play should be Murakami, but he's also going to get more money. So relative to the contract, who do you like for 2026 and for their MLB career?
So production standpoint, I like Akamoto better. It's not by a whole lot though.
Hmm.
Um, I really like the way Kazuma swings the bat, how his swing is geared for lift, geared for loft, and he also gets the ball in the air and he pulls it a lot too. Like I think him getting to like pull air percentage is like a huge thing for him. So I actually buy that he's gonna be like decently good once the transition is like good for him. In terms of both of them being like right out of the gates, like amazing next year, we've got to just put into perspective, like, look at a guy like Seiya Suzuki. Like, was he that good like the first 2 years? I mean, he was okay. Like Seiya he had flashes of being really, really good, but then we kind of saw it like this past season, like Seiya started to put things together. I think he led the first half in RBIs, and RBIs isn't like
Yeah,
ooh this great thing, but like you do have to be doing something extremely well to be leading a league in RBIs and stuff like that. And he was getting to more pull, like again air pull percentage, like he was getting to more of that stuff. So I think the path for Akamoto is more of like a Seiya type where like it's very clear that the discourse around Murakami has been so negative that
hmm,
I'm almost like positively like in on him because of like he's not going to be that bad. Like the talent around him being able to do what he did in Japan for not just like the one season where he hit 56 home runs and broke records. He clearly hits the ball as hard as anyone else on the planet. Like just if you just watch him take at bats and just like hit the ball, he clearly hits the ball hard. And he gets to this raw power and this power that like really few guys can match. But with all that said, there are legitimate contact concerns, like
yep,
legitimate contact concerns. And so I think that's where like it's a balance. He's not going to be trash. He's
yeah,
not. But he's also might not be like as great of a hitter as people want him to be. And then also it's just look at this guy, he's a bust because he's a WRC plus of like 105 instead of a 115, you know? Like it's one of those
yeah.
things.
And so with Murakami, I think people focus a little too much on just like raw strikeouts because look, he's a 30% strikeout rate in MPB, which is bad. That's the worst in MPB over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
And
it's not
and
even
and that's the
close. Yeah.
problem. It's like it's not just like a 1 year blip. He's had it for 3 years. But say that goes up to 34 to 35% in MLB. There have been some guys that can run a 35% strikeout rate in MLB and still hit well. It's more of the in zone contact, like that's my bigger concern. He had a 73% in zone contact rate this past year.
Hmm.
Um, and for context, Kazuma Okamoto, 90%. Seiya
Yeah,
Suzuki, around 90%. Masataka Yoshida, over 90%. The only guy who has even like sniffed Murakami's in zone contact range in MPB and then went on to have success in MLB is Shohei Ohtani.
I love
So
that. I just love
that's
that
just
like
like,
cop. Yeah.
and that's such a difficult bar to set, but he does have that kind of raw power. And that's very um important to say. Like Murakami, some of the comps I see on him, like again, I understand them from like a pure profile perspective, but he's not Addison Barger because he does not his power is insane. I mean, Munetaka Murakami hits balls to the moon. This guy had 117 max EV this year. I've seen him hit balls at Tokyo Dome that nobody has done other than Otani during batting practice.
I mean,
Um,
he hits in a hitter-friendly park at home, but I've legitimately seen him hit 5 balls, 6 balls over the stands, and not by like a little bit, but by a lot. Like the stuff he does is Otani, Stanton, Judge levels of hitting the ball as far as possible. Like it
yeah,
really
and
is.
and that's kind of why um first off, there's the defensive problems. I don't think he can play third
He's a
base.
DH. Let's get out in front of it. Be very honest. He's a DH.
Yes.
Is there a chance that he can play first base? Sure. He's not playing third. He's a DH.
Yeah,
I've
and
seen too much of him defensively to even question if he's going to play
yeah,
third
and I
base.
think he made that decision for himself when he basically like bulked up and became this slugger because he came up as a catcher and he was actually
Yeah,
rather like I don't want to say skinny, but he was like a much smaller
but
guy
then
and then
like
he just
catcher to
completely
third
loaded
base is
up.
like a really good transition. Like that's a
Yeah.
I mean Josh Donaldson made that
Yeah.
move. Like like guys make that
Yeah, he
move.
has a good
But
arm certainly, but
but he's bulked up so much, he doesn't throw the ball well. Like he has a good arm, but like the accuracy isn't
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
His footwork at third is just like not good. I'm not saying that a team won't try him at third base and like see if it like just see, but like we're talking like if Devers is getting pushed off at third base,
Yeah.
then there's no chance
Devers is
Murakami's
better
staying at
defensively than
third.
Murakami. I can say
Yeah,
that with, pretty
yeah.
big confidence. But
So for me,
yeah,
we're now talking about a bat that strikes out 30% of the time. How many home runs is he gonna have to hit to be productive?
yeah,
Like that's the real question. Like how many home runs
yeah.
is he gonna have to
So
hit to be productive?
again, like a lot of this is the volatility with him is like what is the 50th percentile outcome from? I think the 50th percentile outcome for him is like a above average Joey Gallo season. And people are going to hear
Mhm.
that and think that that's bad. Joey Gallo was a good player. And granted, Joey Gallo
Yeah,
played
I'm with
defense.
you.
Joey Gallo played defense.
Oh yeah,
Murakami's
yeah.
not going to play defense, but Gallo, or think of like lefty Miguel Sano. Miguel Sano at one point was running like a 38% K rate and still hitting
Miguel
bombs.
Sano is a good yeah, that's a
You know
good
what I
offensive
mean?
player.
Like these
Yeah.
guys, if I say them because their perception on like baseball Twitter is bad, people are
It's
gonna
the same
think
thing
that's
with
an
like Adam
insult.
Dunn, right? Like people are like,
Yeah.
it's Adam Dunn an insult. It's like not really. Look at Adam Dunn
It's
offensively.
like
Like
it's like
good
a
player.
peak 900 OPS with like 40 bombs. Like that's not an insult in any way. It's just saying that he will strike out and he's gonna strike out a lot. Like this guy will have 220 strikeouts in MLB. That's,
To your point, he
you
led
know,
the league in three true outcomes. Like his three true outcomes approach is real. He led the league in three true outcomes TTOO percentage. The 2022 to 2024 among qualified hitters. Like when he was
yeah.
qualified, he
And
led the league.
and it's like over 50%. So it's not
Yeah,
just like
I
it's
mean
like the next best or the next highest is like 40 something and he's just
that's
like
why
over 50.
that's why Gallo is like legitimate. Like I think that is like actually a comp. Um,
Yep.
I'll put it this way. I've talked to some people about this. I like Spencer Jones more because Spencer Jones is an exceptional athlete, and I think Spencer Jones is just going to figure out how to hit at the major league
Yeah.
level. That being said, if Murakami makes swing changes, makes the changes that he needs to make, and he is talented, that is not questionable. There is talent in him as a hitter. If he can make those changes, we're looking at two guys who are going to have very similar production. The problem is you got to buy into Murakami making the changes. Like you got to buy into that. And if I'm Murakami and I'm talking to a team, I'm going straight to them and I'm saying, "What mechanical changes are you making to make me better?" Like
Yep.
maybe he shouldn't do that because you should always be confident in yourself as a player and it's really hard to change. But like I personally think from like a setup standpoint in the box, he does not give himself a chance to succeed at a high level in terms of making like swing to swing contact. And maybe we can get a little bit into that because like when I see him set up, I've talked about it being like Matt Olson, but I just think his hands like move backwards and like back at the same time. So he starts with his hands out very much in front of him, and then he's moving them back like this. And again, I don't think he's on time all the time. Like I don't
Yeah.
think he's on time. But when he's on time, he crushes the baseball. So like what changes is he gonna make to get himself on time more and more and more? I will say this. I've seen him hit the ball off time and like off balance and like
Yeah,
ass out like
exactly.
farther than anyone else.
And
Like
that's
that dude,
something that
yeah.
so few hitters in the world can do. He can be completely beat on a fastball and just kind of flick his wrists like that and then take it out the other way. Part of that is he plays at a hitter-friendly park, but part of that is he
Yeah.
has some of the best raw power in the world.
I saw him
Um,
take Azuma deep on a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's almost like he just like let it like ride as long as possible and then just hit it out the other way. And I was like, who else in MPB is doing this? Like outside of like Yanagita and like
yep,
maybe like Sato. Like who else is like
yep.
letting the ball get
It's
this deep and hitting the ball out? Like it's insane.
yeah, you just don't see that kind of pop. And he is a guy that maybe, timing wise, like leg kick, stuff like this, he can adjust it.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point about like adjustments, I was very intrigued at what he was doing late in 2025 because obviously he had that oblique injury this year. This was the first time he missed like an extended period of games. Comes back in the second half, and his swing rate was like so high. You could tell this guy was just trying to like rack up counting stats as fast as he can.
It's like
And
how
he
many homers
did.
can I hit? Yeah, he's like
Yeah,
how
it's
many
just
homers
like
can I
so
hit?
his Z swing, his in zone swing percentage this year went up from 69% from last year's 75%. That's a good level of aggressiveness, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Came at the slight cost of his chase rate going up to a career worst, but not like to a ridiculous extent. Um, and I will say for a guy with as much swing and miss as him, he probably should just swing a lot because I don't want this guy taking called strikes when he's already like the swings that he does take, so many of them are going to end up being whiffs. You should just give yourself as many chances to hit the ball as
I
possible.
sent you the pic where it was against Psyche. The ball was 4 inches off the plate, called strike, and I was like strike three, and I was like, oh man, that's
Yeah.
tough. But he
And
put himself in that situation by
yeah,
swinging at a bad breaking ball, and then it's
yeah.
like
And I will
now you're
say
gonna strike
he
out.
he
Like
has a good recognition of the strike zone. I think he has good plate discipline, career walk rates very high,
yeah,
but he will be attacked in the zone if he continues to whiff this much. Obviously, I think he's such a power threat. He's such like a Kyle Schwarber type that there will be pitchers that just pitch around him and he will get his fair share of walks. Like but the batting average threat is just like so real.
yeah,
Yes, he
it
can
is.
walk a lot. I think he can walk like 10, 11, 12% in MLB, but if he bats 200, that OBP is only going to be like 320. So he needs to be able to hit like 230, 240. I don't know if he has that kind of
Yeah,
hit tool. But
unless
another
unless
yeah,
there's a massive change, like unless there's a
yes.
change, like that's the thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
and again, he's so young and he's such a generational talent that you can definitely believe that with the right tweaks that can happen. It happened with Otani, who was not a finished product as on really either side of the ball, but he was of course much younger. That's another important thing to say is Otani was 23 going to MLB.
hmm
Murakami's 26. 26 is still
and
young, but it's not 23.
again, much like Spencer Jones, Otani is an exceptional athlete, like
Yeah.
an exceptional athlete. I don't know if Murakami's that, but I'll throw this out there. Do you think like 215, 340 OBP, 30 home runs is like a legitimate like target he should like go for, basically?
Yeah, I think so. I think he really should aim for just as many homers as he can get to, despite like I don't think like in 2022, and then the previous year before that, he really did make it a goal for himself to like win the Triple Crown, and he really cared about things like batting average. In
Yeah,
2022, he was probably like a top 10 hitter in the world when he hit
and that's the
56
thing is
homers
like
at a
that
320
that
average.
talent is there, right? Like that
Yeah.
talent is there.
Yeah,
So he
and
could start
so
hitting more
so
for
he had
contact.
that in him, but back then his in zone contact rates were slightly better. They still weren't great, but they were better.
I
And
think I have
now,
78% on
yeah,
2022. Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
don't think that's realistic for him now. I don't think he needs to be that. I think he really should lean into the three true outcomes. That's completely fine in the modern game. And also, I will say it's good that he doesn't have like lefties don't really get to him.
Yeah,
He
he's actually
has
like
actually better
reverse splits
numbers
guy,
against
isn't he?
lefties.
Yeah, he's a
He
reverse
strikes
splits
out
guy.
more against lefties, but This past year, he had a 475 ISO against lefties, which is just like, what?
475. That's
That's just like
crazy.
absolutely crazy. Basically, anytime he hit the ball, it was like for extra bases.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I don't think you need to. He's obviously not a guy you're going to platoon. Like he can hit both lefties and righties. It's just like
That's another
he's going to
thing.
whiff a lot against
If your
both.
team is signing him, he's not signing up to be a platoon bat.
Yeah.
Like all these teams are like, oh, but like, what if we platoon him as a DH? It's like you're first of all, he's not going to your team if you're telling him, yeah, we're gonna platoon. Sorry, like that's not what's gonna happen. But I do think there is a possibility he's like shielded from lefties if like lefties give him an issue because the velocity or something like that. Like he
Hmm.
just needs time to adjust. Maybe he is shielded a little bit from like lefties or even like righties, where he's just shielded from like the okay, you haven't really like hit velo like yet in like the first month, like let's give you a day off here, like let's give you a day off there.
Yeah.
I think that's a real possibility. Yeah, for me I think I put this at the end of my write up on him. He can very much like lead the league in homers or hit like 30 bombs, 35 bombs. He can also lead the league in strikeouts, but again, I don't think leading the league in strikeouts and hitting 35 bombs is a bad player. Like
Yeah.
Riley
And
Green exists and people like
yeah.
Riley Green. So like what
Yeah.
are we talking
And
about
and I
here?
think I think honestly like 30 35 homers is like pretty conservative. I think he has
Yeah.
genuine with, how much more lively the MLB balls are at. If he makes the right adjustments, he can be 45 50 homers.
That's my conservative like first year goal for him is like 35.
Yeah.
I think if he makes correct adjustments, the reason he's going to get the money he's going to get and a team's going to sign up for that is because they think they can make the mechanical changes to get him to 45,
Yeah.
50
And
bombs. And
and
again,
yeah.
that's why I go back to my Matt Olson comp. Like both lefties, both I want to say right hand dominant hitters because they throw righty, like they're right hand dominant.
Yeah.
I think he can get to like a Matt Olson level of like home run production. He's never gonna be like Matt Olson zone contact rates. I actually think Matt Wallner, I think Arm Layden
Hmm.
put that as like his comp. I think Matt Wallner is like a decent comp for this year. I mean, if Matt Wallner hits 30 bombs, kind of
Yeah.
like that.
And I do think it's worth noting that from a mental perspective, for him to reach kind of the pinnacle in 2021 and 2022, for him to win the Japan series, for him to win back-to-back MVPs, for him to set the single season Japanese-born home run record, it's hard to maintain that. And I think he
Mhm.
almost had like way too high expectations for himself. He was like
Like, am I
probably,
really this good? Yeah,
yeah,
type
he
of
was
thing. Yeah.
straining. He had a bit of imposter syndrome from playing alongside guys like Otani at the WBC. So this is kind of a fresh start for him, and that's going to help. But how about Okamoto, right? We talked
Yeah,
about Okamoto a bit early. When you compare Okamoto's 3 year, running WRC plus to Murakami, it's better. So from 2023, Okamoto 180 WRC plus, Murakami's is 162 over the same period. Now, Okamoto has not done what Murakami did in 2022, so the ceiling's different. Like Okamoto for his career is a 147 WRC plus. Murakami in 2022 had a 225 WRC plus. So that's, absolutely insane. But Okamoto right now, like I know again, much like Murakami, he missed some time this year. And yet he only struck out 11% of the time
crazy.
while also just like, clubbing a bunch of homers, like 15 homers in 69 games. He had a
What it was 11
278.
strikeout percentage, 11 strikeouts and a percentage of 11 walks, right? It was like 11
Yeah.
walks, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he walked as much as he struck out.
Yeah,
Um
11% strikeout, 11% walk. I mean, a little bit lower on walks than strikeouts, but yeah,
yeah,
basically.
and he had a 278 WRC plus against lefties. So
That's yeah.
I think he's going to crush lefties at the very least. He was 99th percentile fly ball rate against lefties, 97th percentile pull rate. I think he has that right approach. I think
Hmm.
even if he doesn't have Murakami's raw power potential, it was a 112 max EV this year, he will be able to do that like Nolan Arenado thing of like consistently pulling fly balls and just or Paredes, guys like this. And he can probably get to 30 homers as well. Um, but my question is like, a lot of people are saying like Okamoto's a good defender. I don't think he's a good defender. I think he's
Yeah, I
just
think he's a
better than
first baseman.
Murakami, you
Yeah, I
know?
think he's a first baseman, but
He's
I
not
think
a
he's a
DH though, right?
no, he's not. And like I think that buoys the value. Like that keeps the value up. There's some buoyancy there. Like he's not gonna sink in terms of value. Um, yeah, I think he can play first base. Honestly, the freak injury at first where the throw tailed in the runner and he kind of like reached for it and he like hurt his left elbow, like that sucked. Like I think like there's movements there and like he just looks comfortable at first base. I also think you could throw him in the outfield and be like, let's see if this works in left field type of thing. Um, I don't think he should play third. Like I don't think he needs to play third. I think he's gonna be a first baseman who's
Yeah.
gonna like his floor as a hitter, like again, I just like his swing and I like the way he like operates and it's he pulls the ball and he pulls it a lot, but there's almost like an all fields approach to him as well. Like he almost hunts like the pitch that he wants to pull. Like he's like, I don't like that pitch. Like I don't think that pitch was that great. And so he'll like take it, and that's why his zone like contact rate is like so high. He like hunts for the pitch that he wants to hit. I think him and Teruki Sato are very similar in that aspect. I think they both hunt certain pitches. The one thing I will say that separates those two guys is there's not like a ton of chase from Okamoto. Like he's not chasing a ton. He does chase a little bit, and it definitely is. I think I had like 24.2% the last 2 years from you. So like there is some chase there, but the aspect of both of those guys hunt pitches, and I think his swing is like geared for loft. Like I think he's
Yeah.
trying to lift the baseball, and that's how you can like actualize 30 home runs and stuff like that. Like that's how you can get to this game power that like other guys can't by just pulling the ball and hitting in the air. As you mentioned, Isak Paredes is like a really good example of a guy who can just like take advantage of pulling the baseball into left field. It would actually be really funny if he ended up in Houston. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna
Yeah.
end up in Houston, but it'd
And
be really funny if he did.
what do you think the K rate is going to look like in MLB?
Ooh, that's
Because,
that's a good question.
I don't think 11% K rate in MPB is even like his true talent level. That might be kind of a small sample outlier, but he's always like below 20%, and I don't
Yeah,
really
he
see it
was
skyrocketing. You know, I think
right.
he can be like a 22% strikeout rate guy in MLB. It really depends how much he wants to sell out for power, I suppose. But yeah, like I think he will like get his fair share of like singles and doubles as well. Like
Hmm.
he's not a three true outcomes like a Murakami, which does raise the floor. I think Okamoto simply has a higher floor than Murakami. And he was, I would say, above average defensively in by MPB standards. Third base is a very defensively weak position in MPB, mostly
Yes,
because
it's a very weak
teams
position.
love to put like a first baseman at third base to just try to like have two kind of first basemen on the corners. You see this
And
with a
then you
lot of
or you
teams.
get or you get the Sakamotos who's getting pushed to third base
Yeah, it's like
because
it's just
the
a weak
shortstop is so good.
position defensively, and I would say Okamoto played it at a pretty good level in MPB. Can he play it in a pinch in MLB? Yes, but I don't
Oh
want him
yeah,
to be
yeah.
an everyday third baseman in MLB. Although that would raise his value if he was like at least decent at it.
Hmm.
And he's also like you just mentioned Sakamoto. He's an interesting contrast to your Sakamotos and your Yanagitas from the last decade because those guys were face of the franchise, like face of the league type players in MPB of
Yep.
the 2010s, and they didn't go over to MLB. And in fact, Sakamoto said, "I don't think I'm good enough for MLB." This has completely shifted because of players like Otani and just like WBC. Like
Yeah.
people desire MLB a lot more than they did. Obviously, like money has to do with that as well. But I thought if you asked me 3 years ago, I would have said almost for certain that Okamoto is going to be like a giant for life. He was named captain. I
I
thought
mean,
he was
he's
going
the
to be one of
first
these
position
guys.
player to get posted, right? Like
Yes,
there's
he's the
yeah.
first position player to be posted in franchise history. This is unprecedented for Yomiuri, but I thought he would get like kind of like the Sugano or Kondo deal of like 5, 6, 7 years, 50 to 60 million and just stay in MPB. That's kind of what I was
Like make
expecting.
15
But
mil a year, 10 mil a year, and just stay in MPB for the rest of your life.
that's
Yeah.
what I was foreseeing for him, but he has elevated his game so much in the last two to like he was always good, don't get me wrong, from like 2019 onwards, so consistent, 30 homers every year. Did that for 6 or 7 straight years. But the last 3 years have been special, and I think he's in his prime right now. So I don't know how he looks, say, like 3, 4 years from now in MLB, but 2026, 2027, I think he is like an 800 OPS bat in MLB.
hmm Awesome. I think that's a real possibility. I think he can be an 800 OPS guy for like a good 3 to 4 year stretch. And like, let's say he's not 800 OPS this year. Next year, he could definitely be like an 850, an 830. Yeah, I just again, I like the swing. I like the setup. I like the way he works the zone. Again, I'll go ahead and shout out these numbers that you gave me for my article. Like it's very consistent throughout like the last even 4 seasons. Like 16.1% K rate in 2022. It fell to 19.1 in 2023, then back to 16. Now it was 11.3 this year. Stellar. The walk rates 8.7 jumped to 10.7 in 2023. So 2022, 8.7. 2024, 19.2%. And then this season back to 10.7%. So he's just a very consistent player. And even then, like his zone contact percentage jumped by about 4%.
Yeah.
So I think he's just been so consistent, especially the last 3 years, but really his entire career as a Giant, he's just been a consistent force in this lineup in the most visible franchise in MPB. Like if you're a Yomiuri Giant, if you're playing in Tokyo, like there's a I said this in my article, there's a level of gravitas, there's a level of expectation to like playing in Tokyo. And he just took on that expectation and was consistent like throughout his career. And again, to your point, the last 3 seasons, he's just elevated it to another level where, yeah, he's going to be an
Yes.
800 OPS guy in MLB.
Yeah.
The floor is just too high for him to fail. Like personally, I
And
think the floor
that's
is too high.
the point you made about playing in Tokyo is that's a great point, because I think people need to realize, like, yeah, playing for Yomiuri is like playing for the Yankees in MLB. He's kind of been like the Giants version of like an Aaron Judge. Like he's used to the bright lights. Like he's used to having the media on him every day. He's
Yeah,
used to, and he's kind of like a weird, like quirky guy too. Like if you look at his
I
Instagram,
do
you'll
like
realize
that.
this. Like he just
I do
posts
like he's a
like
little quirky.
random photos of like Masataka Yoshida and stuff. Like he's just a really weird guy. I think he's gonna mesh really well in an MLB clubhouse. Not to say Murakami isn't, but I think Okamoto is going to fit in culturally just fine. And I take Murakami over Okamoto long term in MLB because I believe in
Yeah,
Murakami as a generational talent. But 2026, I might genuinely take Okamoto.
yeah, I think again, you asked me at the beginning, like would I take Okamoto or Murakami this season? I think I'm on Okamoto. It's not by like a ton, but I envision like an 840 OPS, and he's just gonna be like very consistent. He's gonna play first base. He's gonna put what if he platoons even? Like what if
Yeah.
he like platoons a little bit? You like get him moving from DH
Yeah,
to
and
first
and
base.
again,
Like I could see that being a thing.
I
I
don't
don't think
think
he's coming
he's
over here to platoon, but
yeah,
that is a possibility.
I don't think he's gonna run like a high WAR number or anything, but as a
Yeah, yeah.
pure hitter, I think he's good. Like I think he's really good. And I think for my comps for him being like Seiya Suzuki and from kind of like the
I
hitter
see Seiya,
build.
man. I see Seiya every time I watch him. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
Seiya.
I think Okamoto is a worse athlete than Seiya, but I think the production's going to be similar. I think the production's kind of going to be like Christian Walker, good Christian Walker, not like this past year.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like uh, it's going to be really fun to see both of them hitting MLB at the same time. Obviously, different parts of their career, different ages, but two Tokyo corner infielders, two really good friends. It's just like a really fun kind of narrative. And I think the team that gets him is going to have to pay a lot more than what some of these estimates are. Like Seeing like 30
Yeah,
something million, I think that's a little too low for Okamoto.
that
I think he
seems
can get
low.
60, 70 million, you know?
If we're adding in the posting fee, I'm not saying it's getting to 100, but I can see like 80 mil if we're adding in the posting. Um, yeah, I just
What do you think
my
Murakami
will.
gets?
Oof, I, I don't know if I would give him this. There's going to be two or three teams that decide. If he gets 140 mil, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't
Yeah.
know where you're at with that, but 130 mil, I
I
see that.
think I think he gets that. I think I think there's too much risk in doing that, but if you have that kind of money to and you can afford it, then I think he will get it. I
Yeah,
just don't
I don't want to
see,
be like mean and be like I
yeah.
wouldn't pay 100 mil for him. Like I cap at 90, but okay, if you think you can fix him, 130 is legitimate. Like if you think you can fix the
Hmm.
swing, 130 is legitimate. Now, granted, I'm saying this as someone who was totally in on Vance Honeycutt, and now we see Vance Honeycutt's Z contact percentage in like the low minors. Don't love it. It's really hard to change how a guy can make contact and change their swing and all of a sudden get contact. But like you said, he's a generational power talent. I that 2022 that 2022 season wasn't a fluke. Like it is in there. I It's just a question of can you tap into that player, and that player is worth 130 mil in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's one of my favorite players, so I almost try to be like overcritical of him because I don't want to come across as like being
But
like doing homerism for him, and I
but
want the
it got too
exactly.
like
That's why
negative and
yeah,
vitriol.
I need to
Yeah,
taper the expectations, but I also need people to realize like I think a lot of really great minds in the MLB space are saying they're completely out on him. I get that because yeah, if you
totally,
just look at the
totally.
numbers, I understand why you would be out on him. However, I don't think people are fully realizing that this guy does have like that Stantonian type power.
Yeah. The question is like there's gonna be smart teams that pay him.
Yeah. And he needs the right ballpark
Someone's
as
gonna
well.
do it. Yeah, in the right ballpark. I will say like if he ends up in Anaheim, which would be that'd be
Ooh.
hilarious. But if he ends up there, I think he can still hit 30 bombs in Anaheim. Like I actually don't doubt that at all. Like, but yeah, I mean, the ballpark's gonna matter, but maybe not as much as maybe not as much as you think it would. I don't know. Like he can clearly get to power. That's not the question.
Yeah, he
It's
can
gonna be
hit.
the zone contact. It's gonna be the
Yeah,
zone
that's
contact.
true. He can hit anywhere. Like it's just that I think say he's in a hitter's park, I think he will hit
Yeah.
45 homers. Like
Okay,
I
I
think he
see
can
what
do
you
that.
mean. So, like, we were making the joke about Houston, but if you drop him in Houston, he could hit 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston.
Um, yeah, Boston. Yeah, I mean, we're just throwing out teams now, but like, San Diego would be a place where it's like, okay, the marine layer is probably gonna like affect the outcome of like his production here. Um, Either way, we'll see where he ends up. I think a team's gonna pay him, which
Yeah.
again, it's the same thing with like a Mai. Like when I see a Mai, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I'm worried about the command. Very smart people are saying he's gonna get like 160, 140 million dollars.
Yeah.
So clearly teams like him,
And
and I think Murakami's
yeah.
in the same boat. Like someone's gonna give him
And
this like
I've said this in the
$100 million
past,
deal. You know what
but
I mean?
yeah, I appreciate when there's people who have like not watched MPB that kind of give like they watch some film on him and give
Yeah,
like a take
100%.
because you know if you watch him too much, you can fall into certain traps of just like putting him in a certain bucket of who he is. And I think I'm guilty of that with a lot of MPB players. I've watched them for so long that for certain guys, it's like very hard to see them fail, for instance, because they've just had success their whole career. Certain
Yep.
guys, you begin to maybe play up their flaws a little too much because with Murakami, I just saw him have so many just like weeks where just didn't have it, just didn't look kind of mentally checked out throughout parts of the season. But I've also seen him have like weeks where he's the best hitter in the world. So
Yep.
he's such a like extreme profile, but that's the allure of a Munetaka Murakami,
Yeah,
right?
that's the allure of him. And I will say this just to wrap up him. The the profile is so volatile. But if you think you can fix it, if you think you can do something mechanically, and again, that is very hard to do, but if you think you can fix it, again, he's worth whatever money someone's going to give him. Again, if this same player was doing this in AAA as a top prospect stateside, we'd be freaking out. We'd be like, "Oh my God, he's going to be the next great player." The fact that he did this in MPB and a lot of people haven't seen him, and the level of competition of whatever you think MPB is, people just think like all of a sudden because he had low zone contact rates in MPB, he's like never hit like in his entire life, and that's just
Yeah,
flat
and
out like wrong. He
the
was going for a triple crown in 2022. Like he
the
clearly can
velocity
hit.
stats that get thrown out about like, oh, this guy's never hit 93 plus in his life just because, yes, he does have bad numbers against 93 plus miles
It's
per hour
also
in the past few
super small
years.
sample size, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Very
It's
small
small
sample.
sample. You don't see it very often. You don't have like he doesn't need to make those adjustments in MPB because you just see it so rarely. And also, I will point out, you look at 2022, like his 55th home run, that was off like a Taisei 95 heater. Like he's done it before. I was at a game this year where he took Taisei EDA 96 to dead center. Like he can
Yeah,
hit it. It's gonna take the adjustments. Yes, there's like risk there that he can't do that. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo couldn't do that, but he also has a lot more pop than Yoshitomo Tsutsugo.
yeah. Oh well, yeah. That's like unquestioned. And also, the last thing I was gonna ask you is, what do you think about like a team letting him play through like a slump? Like, I, your Colt was never gonna take him out of the lineup.
Hmm.
If he's having like an 0 for 15, 0 for 20 stretch, whatever MLB team gets him, dude, just sit him for 2 days. Let him figure it out. I, as a as a guy who watched a lot of Braves games, Michael Harris
Hmm.
was at a point where it was like you got to sit Michael Harris, but then Michael Harris, made some adjustments with his hands, started getting back to like hitting the ball more.
Yeah.
I think you gotta like give him a chance to
You
like
should
figure it
you need to
out,
give him a breather for sure. You
but you
need to
can
give
give him
him a
the breather
breather
too. I
because
think that's acceptable. And like if he's like bad, like an 0 for 20 stretch or an 0 for 15 stretch, it's okay to sit him for a
yeah,
day or two. Like it's okay.
in MPB it's really hard to sit like the face of the
You
franchise like
can't sit
that,
him.
but
Like you just can't.
what the Swallows would do when he was in a slump, and this sounds like it doesn't make any sense, but because the cleanup spot is the most valued spot in
Yeah.
Japan, they would be like downgrading him by moving him to the two hole, for instance. So he would play like the two hole for like 3 or 4 games and then like mash there and then like, okay, you get to go back to cleanup. And he led off once this season. I didn't
Yeah.
really get why, because he just like struck out looking to a guy in his retirement game and then just like got taken out of the game for some reason. But like um that's kind of what they did in MPB. It's kind of like, okay,
Yeah, I feel you.
you can't handle the cleanup spot right now. So here's the two hole.
Mm,
Right. But
interesting.
in I think he should I think he should get a breather if he's having that kind of slump in MLB, work some things out. And I do wonder how he will if DH will affect him in terms of some guys like to be on their feet, obviously, right? And he's never DH'd.
Maybe
So
maybe he'll like the aspect of I can look at the next at bat with an iPad. I can go use the
yeah,
Treasure Jack machine.
that
Like I
might
can
genuinely
go
help him,
get swings,
It might
you
help
know?
him to not have to focus on that defensive aspect of his game, which was not good and at times would carry over to his hitting. If he made an error,
Yeah,
for instance, it might mentally affect him. I think if he's a
like
DH, it's not going to happen.
he's gonna have some of the best training in the world based off of where he goes.
Hmm.
But again, if he DHs, he can just take swings in the like there's batting cages like at the part like he can take swings like in the middle of the game as a DH.
Yeah.
Like there's ways for him to like lock in and focus offensively. So I'm actually sold as like if someone DHs him, you're gonna get some offensive value, I think.
Let's finish off with the foreign players from MPB that are going back to North American baseball. At least they're hoping to. We'll see. Some of them might end up back in MPB or in yeah. So Foster Griffin, lefty for the Yomiuri Giants, had a great 3-year run as a starter. Did run into some injuries, but Was a top 10 starter on a per inning basis, like unquestionably this year. Same goes for Jon Duplantier. I mean, he was like honestly the best starter in MPB on a per inning basis, but
Yeah, he
ran into
was.
injuries at the end and was not good in the Japan series. He was excellent though for the Hanshin Tigers overall. Anthony Kay, lefty for the DNA Bay Stars, good 2 years as well. Huge for them in the postseason in 2024, helped them win a Japan series. This year he set the franchise record, or like the lowest ERA in a very long time. Big ground ball pitcher. And then Cody Ponce is not an MPB guy anymore. He's a KBO guy, but he was with the Nippon Ham Fighters for 2 years. Then he went to the Rakuten Eagles. He even had a no-hitter like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But he was not good with Rakuten, had like an ERA of 7, some bad luck in there. But then he goes to Hanwha in the KBO, and he sets like the single season record for strikeouts. And I
It
know he's
was
like a completely different pitcher, so
it was the most dominant like Korean season. Like he was it was
yeah, and
incredible,
I almost
honestly.
wanted to see him back in MPB because of that, to see like how good he could be in MPB. I think this is a
Right.
completely different version of him,
Oh,
but
100%.
I still do like dock him a little bit for the struggles he had in MPB in 2023, 2024. So out of those four guys, Griffin, K, Duplantier, Ponce, how would you rank them? Do you think any of them have like MLB like starter, like a 4 or 5 upside? And yeah, who do you like?
It's crazy because watching Ponce and MPB like the last couple of years, I was like, "Whoa, this doesn't look good." But then you get the flashes with like the no hitter against SoftBank. Um, I think there's a real chance that Ponce is like a 5, back end like upside of a 4. I think Griffin has the chance to be like a spot starting 5 and stuff like that. I'm not as sold on K and Duplantier. I will say this, Duplantier in terms of like per inning basis in MPB, to your point, was very, very good. And I almost like buy into Duplantier like dude, he's gonna figure something out. K, I'm a little less on just because it's like strictly ground balls almost, and it's like getting to ground balls. But he does have a little bit of like what we would say is like the dog. He
Yeah.
like wants the ball. He gets the ball and like as you pointed out in the postseason, got in like high leverage, high like moment games and came through for his team. So I think if I had to rank him, it'd be Ponce. Griffin, Duplantier, and then K as my yeah, my
Yeah.
my
I
my
think I
my
think
ranking there.
with K, like maybe he can add some swing and miss back, because I know he's talked about how he almost like, not that he doesn't go for strikeouts, but that he's
But
kind of
it's almost
catered
like
his
not
game.
worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's catered his game to MPB because you don't need strikeouts in MPB, right? With the dead balls, and you can kind of just get grounders and it works for him. And he was very consistent in 2025, especially compared to like the early part of 2024 when he had some struggles. Um, Duplantier, I mean, running a 32% K rate in MPB as a starter is almost unthinkable. I mean, he's super legit. Some people will say that maybe his arsenal just like really fit Japanese baseball, because like he has a really good sweeper, and not really a pitch you see in MPB. So maybe that, without the adjustment period, a lot of guys just couldn't hit it. I don't think he has like above average command, but I just think all his pitches worked really well in MPB. I really hope he stays in Japan, because I think he's going to have a ton of value for any team that potentially signs him. I think I'm actually highest on Griffin. Um,
Gotcha.
Concerned about the innings, but I think Griffin, in terms of command, is pretty solid. I think he's like 50 grade command, and then he has pitches he can throw to both sides of the plate very effectively. And I think when he added that sweeper in May, I think it was, of 2024, that really elevated his game, because he talked about how in 2023 he had success, but then MPB hitters kind of adjusted to him. So he had a really bad start to the 2024 season, but then he made that readjustment, and he really kind of figured it out after that. I like his changeup. He just has a ton of like mix and match ability, like
Yeah.
kitchen sinking. And I don't think, if you look from a pure stuff perspective, it's as good as like Ponce. The strikeout upside isn't quite there, but you do have guys in MLB like a Seth Lugo who are able to kind of out overperform based on just having a lot of pitches that tunnel well and play off each other. And I think Griffin has that quality. I've been very thoroughly impressed with what Griffin's done with Yomiuri over a pretty decent sample size. So I would probably take Griffin, and then I think Ponce and Duplantier are close. I mean, obviously you got to give it to Ponce based on the season he just had in the KBO. Duplantier, I'm curious if he had pitched the full year, if he had given you
Yeah.
140, 150 innings instead of 90, maybe the narrative on him would be different. But I must say, Duplantier was a stud with the Hanshin Tigers this season.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be. I almost want him to like be back with Hanshin just to like see what happens. And like get a full season of workload and be like, okay, this is legit. Like it wasn't just a blip. Like I can legit strike out 30 guys, 30% of batters, like I can get to like that type of number. Like you said, the stuff was like off the charts in terms of like I think there is a little bit of like the sweeper isn't as like it's common over there, like guys throw it, but the way he was throwing his sweeper and the velo he was throwing it at, I don't think
Yeah,
you see guys throwing like 84 mile an hour, 85, 86 mile an hour sweepers.
yeah,
Some guys do,
exactly.
but not a
It's
ton.
the kind of shape of the sweeper he had, and then I mean, he had four above average pitches, like not just above average, like elite pitches in terms of how they rated in MPB. So that really helped him out.
Yeah, and I will say this for Foster Griffin, like the idea that he kind of messes with timing a little bit, like he'll quick pitch guys. I think it's so funny because he does like the whole setup where he comes like this and then he comes set. He'll quick pitch guys like out of this, so he'll like instead of coming set, he'll like come down and then go,
Yeah,
and it's just like he kind of has like a little bit of a thing where he's mixing guys, he's quick pitching guys. He kind of has a two seam that he can run in, like shove it into righties. And the four seam is like not great, but to your point about like adding the sweeper, I think I have tweeted somewhere that it's like a plus pitch. It might, the more I watch him, the more it might be like a 55, but the shape is gonna be like quote unquote by like stuff plus metrics like 45, like it's going to be like not a great shape, but the idea is that with that shape he locates that pitch so well and he zones that pitch so well that it kind of works. And then with K it's kind of a similar like I totally understand what he's going for in MPB and it works for him. And again, I think he's like figured out the meta in terms of like getting ground balls, figuring out how to pitch to contact, keeping his pitch count low so he can go deeper into games. And look, when Yokohama needed like a start, like he was their stopper basically. Like it was like give him the ball and he's gonna succeed. That's where like I like K. I'll bring up Ponce because I've seen like 8 or 9 starts of his in KBO. The fastball is legit. Like there's some serious like hop and like late like ride to it. And the kick change he added is disgusting. Like it is a disgusting kick change. And again, like he just doesn't look like the same pitcher that he was in MPB. So
yeah,
I have no idea like what happened to like in terms of making it all click in KBO. But we've talked about this before. Like even if you go to like MPB, KBO, like you go to these other leagues, when they hand you the baseball, they're it's like go get 7 innings, go get 8 innings. You have to go get outs.
yeah,
Like there is no one else. Like there isn't someone coming to relieve you in the fourth inning or the third inning. And like a lot of these guys just haven't like had that happen to them until unless you talk about like college or high school. Like that was
yeah,
the last time a guy felt that way. Like a lot of these guys are like, man, I'm getting yanked if I have like one bad outing where it's like if I'm Cody Ponce, like I have to be on every single time I take the ball because Hanwha is like relying on me to be great. Like I am the ace of their staff. And
yeah.
so yeah, I think that like confidence in terms of what happened with Foster Griffin and Ponce, I think that's a level of like I can project those two guys to be like back end rotation pieces, and I just think Duplantier needs more innings. Like I just think like give him one more year, in Japan, and it's a very real possibility that he can come back over and like pitch very well. Because again, to your point, like the shapes are and just like the numbers he was putting up was gaudy in terms of what he was doing in Japan. So yeah, if I had to rank all of them, I'd put Ponce first because he's just a completely different pitcher. The stuff is like it's actually kind of good. He might even like separate, he might start throwing in like a hard cutter slider and then like a sweeper. Like there's a chance that an MLB team might have something they can do with Ponce to make him even better. But the fastball and the kick change are awesome. And I went back and looked at my data. I scored I charted the no-hitter that he threw against SoftBank just because I was curious
Yeah.
like one time, so I charted it. He was 92.2 on his fastball in that outing. In 2024, I think he was like 94. In 2023, he was 93. And then this year in KBO, he was like 95 plus. So again, he's almost added like a tick of velocity like every single season. So it's
Yeah.
been a progression in terms of velocity. And I think that's really awesome in terms of like a development standpoint. Like he has thrown harder the farther he's gotten away from MLB. So I think I like Ponce a lot. Like I think there's a chance for him to be like a five type
Yeah.
pitcher in MLB for sure. And same with Foster Griffin. I think Foster Griffin's gonna get a lot of like spot starts and maybe some of this like, okay, now give us like a long relief role where we're gonna like give you the ball for 3 innings or 4 innings. That's also a very possible outcome for Foster Griffin.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy for Ponce that he figured it out in KBO. I think his sinker rated like almost among the best
Yeah, it
pitches in
was.
all of MPB. Is I mean his two seam. And it's worth noting he throws hard. Like he can run it up to 97.
Which I think is
He's
why
694.
he like breaks the meta too. He like throws hard with like all these shape movements. So I do
Yep.
like K. There is a possibility that he comes over. I just see him more as like a swing man if he does, personally.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite's Griffin. If you look at like the zone rates on his four seam, on his cutter, excellent. 58%
Yeah.
on the fastball,
I mean, he
63%
zones
on the cutter.
everything, right?
Yeah, 75% strike rate on the cutter. Um, the sweeper is a pitch he gets a ton of chase on. I mean, at a 35%
And again, that's
CSW.
location. Like he's starting the pitch like middle of the plate, and it's just like breaking out, and it's like guys are
Yeah.
flailing at it because they
And
think it's a strike.
I think the concern with Griffin, other than injury, is that he doesn't throw hard. It's like 90 to 92, which, in MLB is quite a bit below average. And the shapes aren't like incredible. Yep.
He's also generic. Like
Yeah.
the release height is generic, the slot is
Mm,
generic. It's very stock. Like
right.
that's an issue if he's gonna be like 91, 90. But
Yeah. And that makes sense because in MPB he's not quite stock because he's tall.
yep.
So the slot is higher than I think a lot of MPB hitters are used to. But yeah, I think pitchability with him is very high.
Yeah.
So I think again, this is another thing where people think I'm like throwing an insult out there for some reason, but like Miles Michaelis, similarly was with the Yomiuri Giants, and people forget he had 18 wins and a 2.83 ERA in 200 innings in his first
Did
season back in
I don't know if
MLB.
this is real. Did you see the report where is eyeing like coming back to Japan? Is
Yeah, I
that like
think
a real
he a
thing?
couple years
Okay.
ago he was saying that too. I think
I
he
made a
wants to come
joke in like
back.
a group chat that he should like go back over, but he 100% should. Like I think he could actually succeed in Japan like right now. And again, that goes back to pitchability. Like I think Foster Griffin and Miles Michaelis
Low
have this
walks.
pitchability aspect. They command the zone like as long as the locations are like out of the middle of the plate, you're gonna have a chance to succeed. Um I do worry about like the velocity and just like from a pure shape standpoint, again for Foster Griffin is like again it just it's very much like a stock. Like this
Right.
is very generic. Like and I don't think there's like a lot of like deception per se. It's more just he's like a pitchability guy who like kind of figured it out. So yeah, I like watching him pitch and like watching the 8 or 9 starts I did was like it was really awesome to like see him pitch and just see like his thought process on the mound and like how he was thinking about stuff, and like you could see like the gears turning, like I don't want to throw that sweeper yet, like let's go here with like a two seam
Yeah.
in, and then let's go to the sweeper. Like you could see like the gears were turning with him. So I really like him, and I think his circle change is like good enough to curb like opposite handed hitters. So I do think there's like a little bit of like a taste of like a good off speed pitch to like keep opposite hand hitters off. So again, I think he's like a back end five. I don't know if that's how you see him, but I kind of see him as like a back end five guy.
Yeah, with all these guys, I think like the upside's like a four. But I think, five slash swingman is a pretty decent outcome. I think some of them with pitchability guys, you obviously need like some kind of like a workload element to have really like good value, like innings eating. But yeah, think that just about does it for today. We covered well, we didn't cover that many players, but I think we covered them in a lot of depth. So that's great.
Yeah.
I know you just came out with an article doing a similar deep dive for Prospects Live. So yeah, please plug that and where else people can find you.
Yeah, if people want to subscribe to Prospects Live, I think it's $5 right now, $5 a month. And I mean the content is unmatched in terms of like whatever you want, whether it's the hobby space with cards or, scouting reports on prospects, and my a lot of my MPB coverage will be at Prospects Live. I'll probably do a little bit with Sports Info Solutions. So that will be fun when I like dive into some of these guys in a little deeper in depth uh way. Um like you said earlier, I watch a lot of MPB, so it's really fun when I get to like take all the watching of video that I've done over the year in terms of like a season or even like multiple seasons in the case of Kona and Imai, and then take that and put it into like use on like a podcast like this or with an article at Prospects
Yeah,
Live. So I'm
it's
excited about that type of stuff.
it's always fun to see. It's like they're graduating and going to MLB,
Yeah.
right? So then other people get to see the players that we've been watching for many, many years. Yeah, you can find me on Japan Ball. I do MPB newsletters there weekly. Also, World Baseball Network. I do some articles for them, and then mostly on Twitter/X at Yakyu Cosmopolitan. Plus my website, a lot of stats over there and I'm updating it always. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining. Excited to see how the off season plays out. See you guys next time.